feel comfortable in my body for probably the first time.
Sure. I think my biggest fear of doing it was even just having a panic attack, quite frankly. But
So Elliot Page just said he's a dude now, and all of Hollywood fell over themselves to say how brave that is, but not everyone's buying it. Some big names are calling BS on this whole thing. Let's see who's saying what. So you'd think Hollywood would be all in on this, right? Wrong. Behind the glitz and glamour, there's a whole other story unfolding. What's really going on in Tinseltown's corridors of power? Sure, we saw the tweets, the outpouring of support. So proud of our superhero, they gushed. But let's not kid ourselves. This ain't just about one actor changing names. It's about Hollywood trying to rewrite the script on what's normal, and they want us all to play along. Take the Umbrella Academy. They didn't waste any time adapting Page's character from Vanya to Victor. And yeah, they brought in a trans writer to make sure it was all authentic. But here's the kicker. The show racked up over 10.5 billion streaming hours. That's billion with a B, folks. So was this about acceptance, or was it about cashing in on the controversy? Now, Page is all about being a trans rights advocate. He's saying stuff like, I'm in this unique position and I absolutely have to use my privilege and my platform to do what I can, in whatever way, to help my community. Sounds noble, right? But let's break it down. What does helping the community really mean in Hollywood terms? Page claims he's more excited about acting than ever before.
I was carrying a tremendous amount of shame and guilt for not being out, and felt isolated from the LGBT community. And
dehumanizes us, that debates our existence, that lies about our health care. We've always been here.
But is that excitement about the craft? Or is it about being the new poster child for woke culture? He's got the spotlight, sure, but at what cost? Here's where it gets real interesting. Page himself pointed out that only 11 out of 596 LGBT characters on major media platforms were trans men. So much for Hollywood's big embrace, huh?
you can talk about an ex, or, get to wear what you want, not have a conversation about it, and to feel like you're being yourself. And then
A lot of trans and queer people will, and I think we were really trying to capture those degrees of nuance.
Seems like there's a big gap between all that public support and what's actually happening behind the scenes. And let's talk about that character transition in the Umbrella Academy. They're calling it movingly low-key. But come on, how low-key can it be when it's plastered all over the media? It's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, make a big splash, but pretend it's no big deal. Page says, it's who I've always been. Okay, fair enough, but why does Hollywood seem so eager to jump on this bandwagon? Is it about supporting Page, or is it about looking good for the cameras? Let's face it, folks, Hollywood's got a long history of saying one thing and doing another. They're all about diversity and inclusion when the cameras are rolling, but when it comes to actually putting their money where their mouth is, that's a whole different story.
Her change and her growth, that people's minds change and hearts change, and it's true, like knowing it feels similar to actually writing the book, or what I think I might have said last time I was on the show, which is before it wouldn't have been possible.
Hollywood's rolling out the red carpet for Elliot Page, but not everyone's buying tickets to this show. Some big names are speaking up, and they're not pulling any punches. What's got these critics so fired up, and why are they willing to face the backlash? Enter Jordan Peterson, the Canadian psychologist who's never shy about stirring the pot. He called Page's transition insanity. Yeah, you heard that right, insanity. Peterson's not mincing words here. He's saying that you can't just change your gender by declaring it. It's like he's telling Hollywood, you can't rewrite biology with a press release. But Peterson's not alone in this fight. Ben Shapiro, the conservative commentator, is right there with him. Shapiro's argument? Sure, you can change your name, but you can't change your biological sex. He's calling out the media for pushing what he calls a nonsense agenda. Shapiro's basically saying, hey Hollywood, stop trying to make fetch happen. Now, you might be thinking that aren't these guys just being mean? But hold up, they're raising some pretty big questions. Like, is it really helpful to just accept everything without question? Michael Knowles, another conservative voice, even compared gender identity to anorexia. He's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, going along with someone's dysphoria isn't always the best move. Peterson's got another beef too. He's worried about the impact on young people. He's saying that when you've got big stars like Page transitioning, it might influence vulnerable teens. It's like he's asking, are we opening Pandora's box here? But here's where it gets really interesting. Peterson got suspended from Twitter for refusing to delete a tweet about Page. Free speech meet cancel culture. It's like watching two heavyweight champs duke it out in the ring of public opinion. And it's not just about Page. Peterson's arguing that if everyone's temperament defines their gender, we'd end up with 7 billion different genders. It's like he's saying, if everyone's special, then no one is.
It's a good family, and thank God for that, and he seems to have managed that well. And I know people who know him, and they have faith in him. Pride movement has torn down a lot of fences, and maybe some of those fences needed to go.
Now, you might be thinking, aren't these guys just being transphobic? But hold up, is it really hate, or is it a different way of looking at biology? These critics are saying there's a difference between accepting people and changing reality. The backlash against Peterson and Shapiro, it's been intense. It's like they've poked the Hollywood hornet's nest, but they're not backing down. They're saying, hey, we need to be able to talk about this stuff without getting shut down. Forget walking on eggshells. We're about to crack open something bigger. Page's journey isn't just headline fodder. It's a window into a whole new world. And trust me, what's on the other side? It's gonna make you question everything you thought you knew about Hollywood. Sure, Page got his moment in the spotlight, but this ain't just about one actor changing names. It's about Hollywood trying to rewrite the script on what's normal, and they want us all to play along. But here's the kicker. Not everyone's thrilled with this new role. Page says he's using his platform to help the trans community. Sounds noble, right? But let's break it down. He's saying, I'm in this unique position, and I absolutely have to use my privilege and my platform to do what I can, in whatever way, to help my community. But what does helping the community really mean in Hollywood terms? Here's where it gets real. Page admits that while he's had a privileged experience, many trans folks don't have the same resources or representation. He's worried his story might create a false narrative that all trans individuals are thriving. Yeah, but trans people are not fine, he says. So much for Hollywood's big embrace, huh? And let's talk about that visibility. Page fears that while his story might inspire some, it could also backfire. How? By making people think everything's hunky-dory for trans folks when it's not. It's like Hollywood's trying to have its cake and eat it too. Make a big splash, but pretend it's no big deal.
Getting out of the shower and the towels around your waist and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, there I am.
Was the beginning of really sort of, disconnecting from myself and feeling.
Now, Page has got a book out called Page Boy. It's supposed to be this big reflection on his journey and the issues facing trans people. He's trying to change the narrative around trans representation in media. But here's the question, is it working? Or is it just more Hollywood smoke and mirrors? Page talks about the extreme hateful rhetoric against trans lives as a big problem. But is Hollywood really helping? Or are they just patting themselves on the back while the real issues get swept under the red carpet? Let's face it, folks, there's a growing divide between what Hollywood's selling and what the audience is buying. Page's experiences are challenging the idea that the industry is fully supportive of trans rights. It's like we're watching two different movies here. So yeah, Page got his moment in the sun. The celebs tweeted their support. The show changed the character. But what's really changed? Are we seeing more trans representation in Hollywood? Or is this just another case of Tinseltown talking the talk without walking the walk? And here's another thing to chew on. Page says his transition has made him more excited about acting than ever before. But is that excitement about the craft, or is it about being the new poster child for woke culture? He's got the spotlight, sure, but at what cost? This whole situation is forcing us to ask some big questions. Like, is it really helpful to just accept everything without question?
One of my best friends in the whole world looks after them when I'm away, and they've become almost just as much her dogs as mine. And
On set every day and feel open and truly, truly there.
That makes sense.
So that, I guess, was for me what really felt
Good for you.
Are we so afraid of offending someone that we can't even have an honest conversation anymore? It's like we're trapped in a politically correct maze and nobody's got the map. So here's the deal, this whole Elliot Page thing, it's not just about one actor, it's about free speech. Plain and simple. We're living in a world where saying the wrong thing can get you canceled faster than you can say woke. Hollywood's trying to play both sides. They want to look progressive, but they're not really changing much. And anyone who speaks up, they're labeled as hateful or transphobic. Page says, hope for me is those who continuously resist and support each other. But what about those who resist the narrative Hollywood's pushing? Where's their support? Here's the million-dollar question. In a world where words can get you canceled, are we really free to speak our minds? Or are we all just actors in Hollywood's latest script, afraid to go off book?